Say this too real quick. You got a woman that works for you is really incredible. You don't find too many people.
I thought you were about to implicate her in the investigation. I'm just glad you're not implicating Dusty in the investigation, Suge, because I can't take that.
She's not in the investigation.
All right,
but what I want to do for her is, I got to do this for her, but I want to turn her on to this clothing line called Girls Mondays to Sunday. Girl Monday to Sunday. And I'm definitely going to look out for her because I buy a lot of for a lot of people from that place. But look, what I was basically trying to say is this. I respect your show and respect what you're doing, but the most important thing is there's got to be a solution. Because this has been going on in the industry for a whole bunch of years, for decades.
He tells the story how D-Rock and Puff put on this all-black stuff and took the guns out because they saw that Suge Knight may not have had or heard somebody, because that's what they do. You know, your man them is on the street, they out there, and they'll give a phone call. Yo, the nigga Suge is right here, man. Seem like the nigga probably be by himself or whatever like that. You know, because some of us big dogs, we run by us.
What made one of Hollywood's smoothest, most untouchable icons completely lose it in court? And how did Suge Knight's bombshell statement leave the whole room in total silence, with Diddy straight up shook? The courtroom was packed wall to wall. Journalists elbowed each other for space, photographers clicked non-stop, and every seat was taken by someone hoping to witness history unfold. The tension, you could slice it with a knife. Every whisper felt loud, every step echoed like thunder. Then Diddy walked in, dressed sharp, calm as ever, strutting like the king of hip-hop.
You said early on, you can't just look at Diddy in isolation. You said this was done to him. He learned from others, and it was done to him, and then he did to others. To me, that sounds like what I hear when people are talking about abusive situations, you know, hurt people, that someone was sexually abused, they wind up being a perpetrator. Is that what you're suggesting about Sean Combs, that he was sexually abused and he now sexually abuses?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think he repeat what was done to him. And like I said, if you look at Russell Simmons, you know the truth. Andre Rail, you know the truth. Friday.
He gave his legal team a quick nod, sat back like he had it all under control. That swagger? Untouched, at least for now. But the moment the trial started rolling, something changed. Diddy was quiet, sure. But that wasn't peace. Cameras caught the small cracks forming, his jaw clenched. His eyes darted to Cassie, sitting across the room, composed, focused, and unbothered. Then it started. Cassie's legal team took over, and the tone shifted hard. No yelling, no theatrics. Just cold, precise words backed with receipts. Testimonies, timelines, evidence.
You know the truth. Jimmy Iovine, you know the truth. So there's not certain things that all of a sudden you got this. The industry is a quick business. It's been like that for a long time. And the casting couch is real, but it's for women and men. But far from all that, I think the most important thing is I feel like they should let Puffy tell his truth. I'm quite sure he's going to expose a lot of people. I'm sure he's going to move forward with it. But I don't think it should be a situation like the Epstein thing where they found him hanging from the ceiling or dead before the truth come out.
Do you believe that?
The kind of stuff that doesn't just sting, it cuts deep. Suddenly, Diddy didn't look so confident. He leaned forward, started rubbing his hands like he was trying to warm up. But this wasn't about cold fingers. His face darkened. That cool persona we all knew. Gone. And right when a brutal description of one key event was laid out in full detail, that's when it happened. Diddy's mask cracked and then completely shattered. He shook his head, barely whispering to his lawyers like he was trying to stop a storm from breaking loose. Eyewitnesses said he looked shaken. One reporter even claimed he looked like a man hanging on by a thread.
I'm in prison right now. I had a great run. So I don't go mad. I don't wake up mad. I've been locked up for 10 years, and I ain't had a bad day yet. And it's a lot of things we can do to help each other, and it's never too late for help. God bless us to have a voice. Let's use our voice. I had told Puppy a while back. I told TD Jakes a while back. Come on, collect calls. We can politic. Because one thing for certain, one thing for sure, you're just not going to walk away with one scratch on it.
Do you think that Diddy...
And that's wild, considering Diddy's entire brand has always been about staying cool, no matter what. Whether it was surviving the East Coast versus West Coast chaos, or dominating the cutthroat music industry, Diddy had built a rep as the guy who never flinched. Pressure? He thrived in it, so seeing him unravel right there in court left everyone stunned. This wasn't the unbothered mogul the world thought they knew. This was someone cracking under heat. He wasn't yelling or flipping out, but the signs were all there. He rubbed his temples like his brain was short-circuiting. He leaned in close, whispering fast with his lawyers. He looked like he was fighting off a panic attack.
Do you think Diddy knows enough that it's a very delicate balance, that maybe investigators will want to know these other names and greatly reduce his exposure to criminality, to time, versus what people would do to keep him quiet?
Number one, I've been knowing him a long time, and we was friends. We're not enemies, but we were friends. He's not a dummy, so he's smart enough to work his magic. On top of that, this man right here, he's been involved with the FBI for most of his career. It's not like he don't have no moves. So I don't think nobody should just count him out. I don't think he gonna lay down and just crawl in the corner and die. He probably going through a lot of shit right now because he probably going through a lot of withdrawals for the drugs. But
and losing. Look, courtroom breakdowns aren't rare when the stakes are this high. Legal experts and therapists will tell you even the toughest folks fall apart when the truth starts closing in. But for Diddy, a man who's lived his life in the spotlight and dodged scandal after scandal, this kind of public meltdown hit different. So what really rattled him? What broke that icy persona? The answer came quick. Cassie's legal team dropped a surprise bomb, a piece of evidence that no one saw coming. And just like that, the energy in the courtroom went nuclear. Diddy, who had been doing his best to keep it together, suddenly froze. His face dropped, frustration turned into straight-up shock. Whatever just hit him, it cut deep. And in that split second, the whole courtroom saw it. The man who once ran the industry wasn't running anything now.
See, they do these things to take control. They're not doing, there's nothing wrong with being gay. If you choose to be gay, that's your preference. But they're doing this to people for control. It's a power situation.
Suge.
And they've been having the power of the, yes.
I appreciate your perspective on this. And I just want to get something very clear, because if what you're saying is true, and I'm not questioning your credibility, I can't assess it. I don't know. So
right.
Then he's got people who are the biggest names in the business who helped him.
I ain't trying to cut you off, but if any of those people I mentioned don't have no drinks and don't do no powder with them, you'll find out. I don't want you to be right.
He looked spooked. But crazy enough, that wasn't even the wildest part of the day. That came just moments later, when Suge Knight walked into the room. The second Suge stepped in, the vibe shifted hard, heads snapped, phones went up, even the judge seemed caught off guard. Suddenly, the case wasn't just about Diddy anymore, this just turned into something way bigger. Why was Suge there? And more wild than that, why did it seem like he was backing Cassie? Nobody expected him, no warning, no announcement. Suge just showed up, calm and cold, and when he walks into a room, you feel it. For years, Suge's name has been tied to some of the darkest, most infamous moments in hip-hop history. Founder of Death Row Records, kingpin of West Coast rap, a man feared, respected, and always controversial. And now, here he was, stepping into Diddy's trial, flipping the whole energy. What did he know? Why now?
I don't care who you are. Prison and jail is a negative environment. If somebody can do something to them and get a name for themselves, they're going to actually do it. Or they can do whatever they feel they got to do to prove themselves. But we also got to learn. We got to learn from our mistakes, Everything don't have to be a mistake. You got to better yourself. But we all know what we sign up for in life. So if I sign up to be a football player, I knew I'm going to get hit and I'm going to hurt some other too.
Whatever it was, you could feel it in the room. Something just changed big time. Let's not forget, Diddy and Suge's history is as messy as it gets. These two weren't just rivals. They were enemies during the most dangerous era of hip-hop.
I signed up to be in the music business and the entertainment business. If you fight for right and being a black man, there's certain things you got to look at for the challenges.
You understand? But you got to keep your head on the swivel and keep that thing on you at all times. Because if it got to go down, it should go down in a kamikaze fashion. So Suge Knight, they get a call. Yo, Suge look like he by himself. Y'all could probably get there. See now, I know it's got to be.
Back in the 90s, they stood on opposite sides of the legendary East Coast versus West Coast feud, a beef that didn't just shake the music scene, it got deadly. Diddy was all about the flashy, champagne-soaked vibe of Bad Boy Records. Meanwhile, Suge Knight was death row, raw, street, and unapologetically grimy. Their crews clashed, their artists dissed each other, and the industry was split down the middle. There were public jabs, behind-the-scenes games, and whispers of sabotage that still get talked about today. So when Suge strolled into that courtroom, cool, unbothered, and seemingly siding with Cassie, jaws dropped. Reporters couldn't believe it. Folks in the gallery leaned in like they were watching a movie. Even Cassie's legal team looked caught off guard for a second. But Suge wasn't there to spectate. Dressed in a sleek, dark suit, he moved like a man who's lived through every kind of war. Calm, silent, deadly serious. He sat down, scanned the room, and locked eyes with Diddy. That look, cold, and it sent a wave of tension through the entire courtroom. You could feel it. Something big was coming. What made this twist even crazier wasn't just the old beef. It was that after all the smoke, Suge Knight, of all people, might be holding the cards that could flip this case on its head. See, Suge Knight doesn't just pop up in high-profile trials for no reason, and when he does, it's usually personal. So why now? Why, after all these years of silence about Diddy, did Suge decide to step into this courtroom? Some say it's straight-up revenge, old wounds that never healed.
Do you believe that Diddy is in danger in prison, and do you have advice for him based on what you just said?
Well, the first advice I have, I don't never want to say he's in danger, and neither should he say that. Because once he gets to the point where they feel he's going to be suicidal to himself, harmful to himself, once they put him on suicide watch, you have the rights to nothing. No socks, no drawers, no T-shirt, no blanket, no sheets. You so naked in a cell as a crazy man. So he definitely don't want to do that. And the other advice I would tell him.
Others think it's a calculated play to put his name back in the headlines and remind the world who he is. But no matter the reason, one thing's for sure, Suge backing Cassie was the last thing anyone expected. And it spoke loud without him needing to raise his voice. When Suge finally stood to speak, the courtroom went dead silent. No drama, no loud outbursts, just a steady, measured voice that made everyone lean in. He talked about accountability, about the music industry burying its dirt. And without dropping names, he made it very clear. He knows more about Diddy's past than people think. No shouting, no finger-pointing. Just a cold delivery that hit like a sledgehammer. Suge called it industry skeletons, and the way he said it. You could tell this wasn't just some petty stunt. Everyone in the room was thinking the same thing. What does he know, and why now?
You know, maybe he should get on the Jewish diet.
Because Puff may have sent somebody, Puff might tell somebody, but for him to put on all black himself and go to do something like that, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Y'all ain't hear what I'm saying. The Puff that I knew will tell Wolf to do something, will tell Riz to do something, had them tell Paul to tell Tottenham to do something.
Was it revenge? Sure, with their history, that theory makes sense, but there was something different in Suge's tone. It wasn't just bitter. It sounded like a man who's been holding back for too long and finally decided to speak. Maybe it was personal, or maybe Suge had dirt. The kind of dirt that could flip the whole trial in Cassie's favor. Either way, one thing was clear. This case wasn't just about legal documents anymore. It was about exposing the truth behind the industry's smoke and mirrors. But just when folks thought Suge was wrapping it up with some vague message, he dropped a bomb that blew the roof off that courtroom. It wasn't just him backing Cassie. It was a full-blown accusation, one that connected straight to Diddy's past, and that's the moment everything started spiraling. The entire room froze as Suge Knight slowly stood up. No rush, no fear, just presence. By then, everyone was already tense from his unexpected support of Cassie, but nobody was ready for what he was about to unload. Across the room, Diddy leaned forward, elbows on the table, locked in. That polished calm he walked in with.
Hey, Suge, thank you for calling back.
Hey, I'd like to say this too real quick. You got a woman that works for you is really incredible.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. People that follow me understand it's from my mouth to God's ear. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's from my mouth to God's ear.
Gone. His jaw clenched, his eyes locked onto Suge like he was bracing for a hit. And Suge delivered. Low voice, no shouting, but every word cut through the silence like a blade. The gallery fell completely still. He didn't sugarcoat it. No warm-up, no friendly intro. He went straight for the throat, claiming Diddy's legacy was built on lies, that his image was a mask hiding what he called a long history of foul play in the industry. Whatever Suge knew, Diddy knew it was real, and the courtroom felt it. According to Suge, there were things that went down behind closed doors. Things most people wouldn't dare to say out loud. Then, with that signature bluntness only Suge Knight can pull off, he went there. He straight up accused Diddy of covering up serious misconduct just to protect his empire. And the courtroom? Dead silent. People held their breath. Suge wasn't just throwing shade. He hinted that Diddy's success wasn't only built on talent and hustle, but on control, fear, and moves made in the shadows. He painted a picture of manipulation so deep, it made folks wonder what else had been hidden all these years. He didn't drop names or point to dates, but what he did say was more than enough to let the imagination run wild. For a second, nobody moved. The air was heavy. Suge implied it was just the beginning, that others would start coming forward soon with stories of their own. And when he said it, it didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a promise. He didn't give specifics, but he referenced a long trail of intimidation, a reputation that's been whispered about in music circles for decades. What made this hit different was when he said it, right in the middle of Cassie's already explosive trial. He wasn't just stirring up old beef. He was stacking his words on top of the exact narrative Cassie's team had been building from day one. And Suge? He didn't sound like he was guessing. He sounded like someone who had seen things. Now let's be real, Suge Knight ain't exactly known for keeping it clean. His name's been tied to drama, arrests, and plenty of over-the-top claims. Over the years, he's thrown wild accusations at Diddy and others, most of which people brushed off as noise or revenge rants. But this time, it hit different. This wasn't just some random outburst. It felt planned, sharp, and locked in. And the fact that it lined up with what Cassie's team was pushing. That's what made it stick. What happened next? Straight-up chaos. Diddy froze for a split second, eyes locked on Suge, face tight with disbelief and pure shock. His lawyers immediately jumped up, objecting hard, claiming Suge's comments were irrelevant to the case. But Diddy, he wasn't sitting back, not even close. People in the gallery said he shook his head, leaned in close to his team, and started whispering fast. He wasn't yelling, yet, but you could see it building. His whole vibe changed. The cool, collected Diddy was slipping. Every second that passed, he got more restless, sharper, edgier. As Suge kept talking, Diddy's hands started moving, gesturing wildly. At one point, he even waved off Suge with a dismissive flick. That move alone made his lawyers lean in quick, clearly telling him to chill before things got worse. And outside the courtroom, the headlines were already flying. By the time recess hit, news outlets were running wild with titles like "Suge Knight accuses Diddy of industry cover-ups" and "Diddy loses it as Suge drops Bombshell." The media didn't miss a second. Social platforms lit up, people choosing sides instantly. Some called Suge washed up, just reviving old drama to grab headlines. But others, they weren't so quick to brush it off. They pointed out how Suge's words matched up with Cassie's claims, and how the timing was no coincidence. Suddenly, the courtroom drama wasn't just about Cassie versus Diddy, it was about the whole industry. People started asking who else might speak up now. Because whether you believed Suge or not, one thing was clear: his words hit hard, and not just for Diddy, but for everyone watching. As for the jury, no one knows how deep Suge's words hit them, but the vibe in that room shifted instantly. After those accusations landed, the air got heavy. Like everybody suddenly understood this wasn't just a trial, it was a reckoning. Cassie's legal team looked fired up, like Suge had just handed them a golden ticket. Meanwhile, Diddy's team, scrambling to control the damage. One thing was clear: the tone of this trial had changed for good. Suge's words weren't long or dramatic, but they cut deep. For years, this man has controlled the illusion, but truth comes for everyone. Eventually. That's when everything blew up. Diddy snapped. Red in the face, jaw tight, he slammed his hands down on the table, hard, loud enough to make people jump, loud enough that courtroom security reportedly moved in closer, ready for whatever came next. The mask was gone. No more cool businessman, no more polished image. This was raw emotion, pouring out for everyone to see. And just like that, this wasn't just about Cassie anymore. Suge had dragged Diddy's entire legacy into the spotlight, and now it was cracking in real time. Through it all, Cassie stayed locked in. Calm, composed, almost icy. She sat at her table, eyes forward, like none of the chaos could touch her. While Diddy squirmed and snapped, she didn't even flinch. People in the courtroom noticed. That steady, unshaken energy, it didn't look like fear, it looked like strategy. Because when Suge Knight walked through that door, everything shifted. And suddenly, Cassie's silence wasn't just silence. It was power. When Suge Knight stood up to speak, every eye in that courtroom darted toward Cassie. Was this shocking for her too? Or was Suge's appearance all part of a plan? That's what everyone was wondering. But Cassie, she gave nothing away. While the gallery buzzed and people whispered in disbelief, she didn't flinch. No raised eyebrows, no double takes. Just that same composed, locked-in posture, back straight, hands still. Her face said one thing, unshaken. If anything, she looked like she knew this moment was coming. And that silence, that stillness, it spoke volumes. It screamed confidence while the whole courtroom shifted around her. Suge's words had weight, sure, but the way Cassie absorbed it made them hit even harder. And just like that, the energy flipped. Because let's be real, trials like this aren't just about facts. They're about optics, about who's believable, who looks scared, who looks like they're holding something back. And when a name like Suge Knight, someone who's been feared, hated, and respected for decades, steps up and backs Cassie, that changes everything. Suddenly, her story didn't feel like just another headline. It carried weight. Real weight. People who might have dismissed it as just "he said, she said" started leaning in, wondering what else might be buried under years of silence in this industry. Even Cassie's legal team looked like they caught a second wind. Suge's statement didn't just support her, it cracked open the door to something bigger, a wider pattern, a history that went way beyond just Cassie. And now that it was out there was no stuffing it back in the box. By siding with Cassie, Suge handed her legal team a major weapon. Now they could argue this wasn't just one woman's claim, it was part of a larger pattern, one even powerful insiders were willing to speak on. That alone made the stakes shoot through the roof. And for Diddy, who was already cracking under pressure, Suge's presence turned up the heat fast. From the moment Suge walked in, you could see it all over Diddy's face, the worry, the panic, the unraveling. And Cassie? Still locked in, still unfazed. While the courtroom buzzed, she didn't move an inch. Outside those walls, Suge's bold move sent shockwaves across the entertainment world. Fans, celebrities, and commentators lit up social media with opinions, some cheering, others doubting. Many praised Cassie for standing firm through the chaos, now backed by someone with heavyweight status in the industry. Others weren't so sure. Was Suge genuinely supporting her? Or was this just a personal play, a chance to strike back at Diddy and make headlines? But whatever folks believed about Suge's motives, one thing was undeniable. His support changed the game. Big endorsements change narratives, and when a name like Suge Knight throws his weight behind a case, people listen. Even the doubters were second-guessing themselves. If Suge Knight, someone who had no reason to back Cassie before, was suddenly stepping in, then maybe there really was more under the surface. Maybe this wasn't just drama. Maybe it was truth. Was Suge just scratching the surface of something much deeper? One thing was certain. From that moment forward, Cassie's voice wasn't just strong, it was loud. Louder than ever. But Suge's involvement came with risk. His name is tied to scandal after scandal. And you better believe Diddy's team will use every bit of that to fight back. Sure, Diddy's team might try to spin it, paint Suge's move as a clout-chasing stunt, question his credibility, and frame it all as a personal grudge. But here's the reality. No matter what people think about Suge, his decision to speak out flipped the script. Now this trial isn't just about Cassie's claims, it's about who else might come forward next. Who else has been watching, waiting, ready to speak on Diddy's alleged past? And through all this, Cassie kept her cool like a pro. No outbursts, no smug looks, no playing to the cameras, just pure, silent control. That calm presence. It said everything. It screamed power shift. With Suge Knight suddenly in her corner, the courtroom dynamic leaned hard in her favor. Diddy, on the other hand, was left trying to grab the reins back, and failing. Whatever happens next is a mystery, but one thing's locked in. The power just shifted. And Cassie, she's not just surviving this, she's owning the moment. For decades, Diddy crafted one of the strongest reputations in the game. From launching Bad Boy Records to breaking stars, rebranding as a mogul, dominating fashion, liquor, music, he was the blueprint. A slick, untouchable power player who moved like a boss on and off the mic. He wasn't just an artist, he was an empire. But now, that empire is cracking. The courtroom tension, his public unraveling, Suge Knight's explosive accusations. It's not just a scandal, it's a full-on challenge to the legacy Diddy spent a lifetime building. And the worst part? It's all happening under the brightest spotlight he's ever faced. Everything we thought we knew about Diddy is now up in the air. Courtroom drama is one thing, but when Suge Knight steps into the chaos, the stakes skyrocket. For Diddy, this trial isn't just about Cassie's allegations anymore, it's about image, trust, and the foundation of the brand he spent decades building. Diddy built his empire on calm control, the guy who always kept a level head under pressure, the mogul who outlasted rivals, flipped bad press, and stayed at the top. But now, his very public meltdown and Suge's damaging accusations are cracking that image wide open. And now people aren't just looking at the present, they're digging through Diddy's entire past, re-watching the moves, re-examining the headlines, asking questions they never asked before. Let's be real, we've seen how fast the tide can turn. Think Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein. Men once untouchable in their industries, now forever tied to disgrace. Their falls didn't just cost them careers, it shattered their legacies, shook their businesses, and forced a cultural reckoning. Could Diddy be next? The parallels are getting hard to ignore. No one's saying the situations are identical, but the timing, the tension, and this sudden wave of exposure. It's starting to feel like the start of a serious unraveling. Social media's already buzzing. Some fans are defending him, claiming big names always get targeted. But others, they're backing off, saying they're done, calling this trial a long overdue reality check for the music industry. Even some celebs are starting to speak, not naming names, but posting about accountability, cleaning house, and no more protecting the powerful. It's not subtle. Diddy's no stranger to pressure, but this isn't just pressure, this is a reckoning. And it's playing out in real time for the whole world to see. Right now, it feels like everyone's just waiting. Waiting to see which way the story tilts before picking a side. The media, absolutely ruthless. Headlines are dragging Diddy hard, painting him as a man unraveling in real time. Every glance, every whisper to his lawyers, every twitch in that courtroom, picked apart frame by frame. And now, with Suge Knight barging into the picture, the whole narrative's gotten messier and way more dangerous. This isn't just about Cassie anymore. Reporters are peeling back layers of Diddy's past, dusting off old whispers, re-examining shady deals, and resurfacing stories the industry once ignored. What started as one trial is turning into a full-on legacy audit. And here's the thing. Once you lose control of the narrative, getting it back is almost impossible. Then came the real twist, Suge Knight's accusations. They weren't just wild, they were strategic. Because now people are asking the questions no one wanted to touch before. Could Suge's words be the spark that leads to real investigations? He hinted that this wasn't the first time Diddy's been tied to dark dealings, and definitely not the last. If more people step forward, this could explode into something massive. Suge might not be the most reliable name in the game, but even with his baggage, his bold stance is loud enough to make the industry pause. And now Diddy's got a choice to make. Does he fight it all out in public, risking more exposure and more damage? Or does he try to make it disappear quietly with a settlement, knowing silence might cost him more in the long run? Because either way, the walls are closing in, and everybody's watching. If Diddy settles, people will start asking, what's he hiding? But if he fights it out, he stays under the spotlight with every move under a magnifying glass. Either way, it's looking like the damage is already done. This trial has started pulling apart the image he spent decades building. And what's coming undone isn't pretty. When the dust settles, it won't just be about Cassie's accusations, contracts, or old rivalries. It'll be about truth. About whether a man once seen as untouchable can survive a public unraveling this messy. Because nobody's walking away from this without consequences. Not Diddy, not Cassie, not even Suge Knight. This isn't just courtroom drama anymore. This is a full-blown battle for legacy. Diddy's empire, built on fame, power, and flawless branding, is now under the harshest spotlight of his life. Cassie's calm testimony and Suge Knight's shocking entrance have ripped the cover off something deeper. And now everyone's asking, what else is hiding behind the shine? As more truths leak out, the question isn't just what Diddy did, it's how much more is still coming. And how will it reshape everything we thought we knew about one of hip-hop's biggest icons? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update. This story's just heating up, and Hollywood's starting to shake. See you in the next one.